Thanks. Context and perspective now. The former intelligence officer for the Office of the Secretary of Defense is joining us. Mike Barrett is here. He's also a former director of strategy for the White House Homeland Security Council and is currently the CEO of the security consulting firm Diligent Innovations. Mike, it's good to see you again. Thank you.
Absolutely. How you doing?
So now we have these series of problems. Now the Afghan president says, get your troops out of our villages, get them back to the bases. At the same time, the Afghan president says, you got to speed this thing up. The end of 2014 is not going to fly. You got to speed it up. Now what do we do?
Well, I think this is really where you see that we have a dearth of a realistic and useful strategy here. So the president likes to say that we've been very clear about our strategy, and I think the military, of course, is executing it. The men and women in uniform are executing it as best they can. But the reality is we're coming home. I mean, we've said we're leaving in a year, year and a half, 500 days, whatever it is now. And so when you've said that, really the question is, how much more can you do before you leave? And obviously, if we're pulled back and we're in the cities, if people are mostly on bases, if we're trying to avoid anything bad happening, we're not taking any risk, we're not sending out patrols, then you've even further decreased the likelihood of anything good happening, such as being able to really further train some of their people and to kill, of course, Al-Qaeda and Taliban. And the whole thing about the Karzai thing, the one thing that really makes sense to do is to keep spec ops there and to continue putting pressure across the Pakistan, the militants hiding out on that border area. And of course, we also have some other forces over keeping an eye on Iran. So the idea of Karzai saying come back into the cities is actually really just takes it right off the plate, that we're not doing anything useful.
So what you're saying is keep special operations forces in there to handle individual defined missions that are about a specific thing, and at the same time take the rest of them out, because the Taliban aren't there anymore. They've been telling us this for years. The Taliban are gone. They're in Pakistan, right? So if the goal is to train the Afghan forces so that under the government and the leadership of the military, they're able to maintain their own security, but their government is corrupt and they're not able to be trained, at least thus far, what are we doing?
Well, again, I mean, I think that's the issue with our strategy, is that we have this strategy of hope. I mean, it's an unrealistic strategy. The idea that you're actually going to somehow teach the Afghans, both the military forces to really create security, and then also at the same time create political institutions and judicial courts and all the other things that matter to have a survivable civil government to keep some modicum of peace, it's not going to happen in 500 days. And so, even though I was a strong advocate of the war when we went in, I'm still a strong advocate of a counterterrorism mission. I think that all the special operations types things are critical and important moving forward. But again, when you look at, even as you just mentioned in the intro, there's a threat to growing extremism here at home from the fact that we're staying there. So some of these horrible things that are happening are just making the overall situation even worse.
Mike Barrett, it's nice to see you again. Mike, thank you.
Thank you.